ever regret saying it or feel you should apologise?
No, I don't regret saying anything that I've said because I'd stand by it.
Welcome to WatchMojoUK, and today we're looking at the most appalling things to have been broadcast on British daytime television.
This is one of the problems, Philip, is I've heard all sorts of names being bandied around, and what then tends to happen is, of course, everyone sits around and speculates.
Thomas Markle. He's appeared on TV giving outrageous interviews about his estranged daughter ever since the news broke that Harry and Meghan were engaged, and it's pretty clear why she no longer speaks to him.
Well, I'm very disappointed about it. I don't think that. I've apologized about this thing, what happened.
He's appeared countless times on Good Morning Britain, including years after Piers Morgan, the driving force between the anti-Sussex items on GMB, left the show.
Well, basically what I do, because I haven't heard from them, is I'll do a story for the press. If I don't hear from them in 30 days, then I'll do another story for the press.
As recently as 2023, he appeared on live television to beg Harry and Meghan to let him see his grandchildren. But would you want contact with a parent if they kept gossiping about you on national television? He's even admitted in later interviews that he lied in some of the others, so why do they keep getting him on? And why do people keep watching?
They would say, Thomas, why do you keep talking to the press? What's your response to that?
Because they're not talking to me.
Ice cream.
Absolutely amazing. That was really good. It's definitely not too early. I bet you wish you were here now.
I don't like ice cream, Hannah.
This deeply strange moment happened on BBC Breakfast back in 2022 when new correspondent Hannah Miller was sent to Nantwich to tour an ice cream factory. It's one of those segments that can't possibly be offensive or outrageous, a completely safe thing to broadcast in the morning. Or was it? Not to Naga Munchetti, who was deeply dismissive of the entire item, putting Hannah in a difficult position.
You don't like ice cream,
No.
but you just said pistachio.
If I had to eat an ice cream for the rest of my life, it would be pistachio flavour, but I don't like cold food.
She claimed not to like ice cream, just barely managing to remember that pistachio is her preferred flavour, and followed it up with the equally bizarre claim that she doesn't like brownies either.
Do you like brownies?
Not so much.
Charlie State told her off live on air, but it still leaves you wondering if it was some kind of hazing ritual.
I think you rather brought the tone down there.
Oh, be quiet, come on.
Well, but Hannah
I apologise.
She was working hard, doing the story, and then...
Rogue landlords. We could put absolutely any episode of Homes Under the Hammer here and it would still be appalling. So that's what we're doing.
I think looking at this, you could safely say there is a wee damp problem.
The entire show is one big scummy moment as we get a window into the lives of house-flipping landlords. They take barely habitable houses and often renovate them to the lowest possible standard, frequently buying them at online auctions without even seeing them in person.
There'll be no skips. Skips are too expensive. They're off budget. So we have a van that'll be permanently outside, ready for going to the tip.
There are times that even Martin Roberts can't put a positive spin on what these landlords are doing, and other times when landlords rage against estate agents for valuing their properties too low. But they buy tiny derelict houses in awful areas, so what do they expect?
We looked at converting the basement into an additional room, but for the moment it'll just be some good dry storage.
Here's Morgan.
OK, I'm done with this.
No.
Sorry, no.
Sorry. Do you know what? That's pathetic.
You can trash me, mate, but not my own
No.
stuff. See you later.
I'm being...
Sorry, can't do this.
This is absolutely diabolical behaviour.
What can be scummier than storming off set of your own show just because the weatherman had a pop at you? If nothing else, this was deeply unprofessional and showed Piers Morgan to be a tremendous hypocrite. He said whatever he liked on GMB all morning, every morning, and then spent the rest of his days saying whatever he liked on Twitter instead.
This is a 2-hour trash-a-thon of our royal family, of the monarchy, of everything the Queen has worked so hard for.
But as soon as somebody came back at him with some criticism of his Meghan Markle obsession, an obsession that's still going strong to this day if his talk TV show is anything to go by, he couldn't stand it and announced he was leaving GMB later that same day.
Now Piers has decided to leave the programme. Some of you may cheer and others will boo.
Kim and Colleen.
Tell you what I did. I didn't tell you how vile you are from day one. That's what I should have done. You're a horrible, self-centered, publicity-seeking witch.
After an outrageous stint on Celebrity Big Brother, Kim Woodburn was finally cajoled into appearing on Loose Women to air out her grievances with Colleen Nolan, who'd won the series. As you'd have expected from her extremely hostile previous appearance on This Morning, in which she publicly slated Colleen, this didn't go well.
Cry in a minute.
Don't be two-faced. I'm not being two-faced. I'm trying to comfort me. Well, all right. Just a minute. I'm speaking now.
The bust-up began, and Colleen stood her ground, garnering even more sympathy from the audience. But who was in the right? It's true that, as Woodburn said, Big Brother is a long show edited down into small episodes, but was the public just missing all the key context in order to paint Colleen as a victim? We may never know, but it was very dastardly of ITV to arrange this interview.
I wouldn't want to sit and talk to lying
Well, I
trash
think
like
that's
you.
sad. I think we should have told the lie.
Yeah, not good.
So you think what you like?
That's a terrible thing to say.
You're
showing yourself in your true...
Fridgegate.
The last day of the campaign, and he's refused to come on our programme so far.
Sweeney, shout at him. Say, come on, Good Morning Britain, Prime Minister, if you get the chance. Give him the full barrels.
This simply wasn't the behaviour we'd come to expect from our politicians. Lying in answer to questions is par for the course, but avoiding answering the questions entirely, that was an art Boris Johnson perfected during his long tenure as Prime Minister. Ahead of the 2019 election, which he'd go on to win by a landslide, Piers Morgan and Susanna Reid were desperate to interview him on Good Morning Britain.
Morning, Prime Minister. Will you come on Good Morning Britain, Prime Minister?
Time and time again he promised to talk to them, even live on air, and of course never did. And at one point he infamously hid inside a giant fridge while campaigning with milkmen early in the morning, with his bodyguards swearing on camera.
Right, he's been taken inside, into the freezer.
He's gone into the fridge.
There's a
bunker.
Sweeney,
heroic work, mate.
Spin to win.
We'll pay your energy bills, got £1,000 as well. So this is energy bills, I think, for 4 months if it stops on that.
The shine has certainly come off This Morning in recent years, and this controversy was just one of many. Back when the cost of living crisis was peaking, This Morning added a new twist to its classic spin to win game by paying the public's energy bills for them. Though the bloke who won the money off his electric was pleased with his prize, it was widely branded as dystopian, and a symbol of how far we'd fallen that we were waiting on television competitions to pay necessary bills for us.
So, how are your energy bills? Are you a bit worried about it all?
Oh, major.
Yeah.
Are you?
The energy bills aspect of Spin to Win was quickly shelved, but This Morning would go on to infuriate the public again after the alleged queue jumping scandal.
It's your energy bill!
Oh my God, thank you.
We're paying your energy bill for 4 months.
Oh, fantastic.
Katie Hopkins versus Colleen Nolan.
When my sister was in Big Brother, you constantly, every day, day in, day out, went on about, I wish she'd put her ugly fat arm away.
For whatever reason, Colleen Nolan does seem to get into a lot of arguments with people on TV, and often manages to come out on top. But that's not hard when the person you're arguing with is Katie Hopkins. In this Loose Women appearance, Hopkins was grilled on comments she'd made publicly about Linda Nolan, who died in 2025, but had had cancer multiple times throughout her life.
No, I'm going to answer. I am going to answer if we let me answer, of course. And the thing I would say is, you know, there are hard things that are said. I wasn't the biggest fan of your sister on Celebrity Big Brother.
Linda was also on Big Brother with Hopkins, and Hopkins went on to body shame her, call her a failure, and say other needless, horrid things. She refused to apologise and managed to offend the entire Loose Women panel in the process.
No, you haven't answered my question.
I didn't like the way she behaved in the house. I didn't like the way she
No, you haven't answered my question. Do you
Jim.
think telling a cancer victim that she's got droopy breasts is constructive, helpful criticism?
Schofield's list.
Well, these are extremely serious allegations, and that's why the government has moved so quickly to try and get to the bottom of exactly what they are.
Yet another This Morning moment. This is even more outrageous in hindsight than it was at the time. This was only a few weeks after Operation U-Tree formally began, and Philip Schofield had done a bit of Googling and produced a list of alleged nonces. This he then presented to David Cameron live on air and asked if he was going to do anything about it.
And I think this is very important because otherwise...
a momentary cursory glance at the internet. It took me about 3 minutes last night to continually find a list of the same names.
Some of the names were visible to the audience, and some of the men named weren't nonces at all, successfully suing ITV for defamation.
I have those names there. Those are the names on a piece of paper. You know the names on that piece of paper. Will you be speaking to those people?
But years later, and it looks even worse, knowing what we know now about Schofield, perhaps he should have put his own name on that list, or his brother's. All of Jeremy Kyle.
I really did go on the Jeremy Kyle show to prove to you I never cheated on you, but it all went wrong. Love you forever, your Steve.
Every single episode of The Jeremy Kyle Show and most of Kyle's other TV appearances are nasty, aggressive, and degrading to the people involved. Styling himself as an expert in conflict resolution, despite having no qualifications to the effect, he paraded Britain's most impoverished for the nation to jeer at.
Yeah, I absolutely am aware of that. That's what I mean.
Why is it taking you 15 years to deal with it then?
He's so condescending. He's so disrespectful.
There were multiple deaths associated with his flagship show, and at least one death connected to another show he did, including that of a producer who took their own life. Documentaries after the show's cancellation show that producers targeted vulnerable, mentally ill people because they'd make for the best viewing.
Jeremy was incredibly nasty, really just demeaning.
And he would make comments to us about the guests, like insinuating that they were thick or that they were scruffed.
Kyle himself has refused to apologise for anything that happened. Let us know in the comments which scummy moments you remember that we've forgotten.
I'm worried about the sort of thing you're doing right now, giving me a list of names that you've taken off the internet.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojoUK and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.